Where can you go for $10 or less if you're on a road trip or just want a new travel experience? Here are 5 places in California with a cultural payoff, and the price is just right. Learn the history of the LA Angels on an Angel Stadium tour. Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim tour. The Big A could learn a thing or two on a guided hour-and-a-half tour of Angel Stadium in Anaheim, such as that it's the country's 4th oldest stadium still in operation. The others are Fenway Park, Wrigley Field, and Dodger Stadium. You'll see the visiting team's locker room, the Angels dugout, the Gene Autry suite, and learn the history of the home of the LA Angels. Tour tickets cost $8 for adults and $6 for children 14 and younger, seniors and military members. Kids under 4 are free. Info: Angel Stadium Ballpark Tours, 2000 Gene Autry Way, Anaheim 714 9,402,045. Bring your yoga mat for a session at San Francisco's Grace Cathedral. Grace Cathedral Yoga at the Cathedral. Grace Cathedral opened in San Francisco in 1849. The opening service saw mostly miners, and the collection was gold dust, its online history says. The modern-day cathedral welcomes people of all denominations, or none at all, to a variety of events including yoga classes starting at 6:15 p.m. every Tuesday evening. Be inspired by the vaulted Gothic-style ceiling while doing poses in the aisle or at the altar. Suggested donation is $10 to $20. Yoga classes take a break for the holidays between December 5 and the New Year. Info: Yoga at Grace Cathedral, 1100 California Street, San Francisco 415 7,496,300. Learn the history of sourdough bread at Boudin Bakery's flagship store in San Francisco. Boudin Bakery, the mother of all sourdough. Boudin Bakery in San Francisco has been churning out golden loaves of sourdough bread since founder Isidore Boudin first put flour, water, salt, and mother dough together in 1849. Don't worry about learning anything on this dozen tour on the 2nd floor of the company's Fisherman's Wharf site. Just breathe in and enjoy the smell of fresh baked bread and free samples. Chat with bakers at a huge observation window in the kitchen outfitted with an intercom system. The 30-minute guided tour on the second floor costs $5. If you are watching your pennies, be careful. There's also a bistro and gift shop on this site. Info: Boudin Bakery Museum Tour, 160 Jefferson Street, San Francisco 415 9,288,882. A portrait of Helena Modjeska at her former home, the Helena Modjeska Historic House and Gardens in Silverado, Glen Koenig. Los Angeles Times. Shakespeare in the O.C. Helena Modjeska was a Shakespearean actress in her native Poland, and in her adopted home in the U.S. Madame Modjeska, as she was known, and her husband moved to California, bought a ranch in eastern Orange County, and had New York architect Stanford White redesign the house. She named the 21-acre estate on Santiago Creek Garden for the forest in As You Like It, and entertained guests from 1888 to 1905. The Helena Modjeska Historic House and Gardens became a National Historic Landmark in 1990. Descent tours last an hour and 45 minutes and cost $5. They're offered 10 a.m. on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and must be reserved in advance. Info: The Helena Modjeska Historic House and Gardens, 29,042 Modjeska Canyon Road, Silverado 949 9,232,230. Original prototype of an MV August 3-cylinder cycle is on display at the Solvang Vintage Motorcycle Museum. Solvang Vintage Motorcycle Museum. Rev it up in Solvang. Let's start with this. Unlike the rest of Solvang, there's nothing overtly Danish about the Solvang Vintage Motorcycle Museum. Rather, it showcases old and new racing bikes from Britain, Japan, Europe and the US. The collection belongs to Virgil Ellings, a mechanical engineering physics professor who founded the electronics company Digital Instruments. He also owns the building, a former outlet store in which it is housed. It's open 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays, and costs $10 cash only. While you are there, this means you, fourth graders, at a free visit to the historic Mission St. Oins right around the corner. Info Salvang Vintage Motorcycle Museum, 320 Alisal Road, Salvang 805 6,869,522 or email info@motosalvang.com. Also, Raiders share their best summer vacation photos lottery to open for hikers who want to trek all 67 miles of Santa Monica Mountain's Backbone Trail. Share your holiday survival travel tips with us and become a travel superhero.